Donald Trump just finished a wide ranging, rambling press conference where he sent in the National Guard to Washington, D.C. This is a significant development, and I want to break down some of the key moments of this press conference for you and whether or not what he is doing is even legal in the first place. So, first, Donald Trump got in the press briefing room and announced that he will be invoking the Home Rule Act to take federal control of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department and send in hundreds of members of the National Guard to areas across D.C., to high crime areas in Washington, D.C. He said that he is placing the D.C. Police Department, quote, under direct federal control.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly, like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States. I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now.
Here's what this means: Donald Trump can, under the law, federalize the Washington, D.C. police. That is legal. He can do that. He is also sending in members of the National Guard. He can do that. Now, because D.C. is an autonomous kind of region, it's not a state officially. Under the Home Rule Act, and when Donald Trump takes this extraordinary step, he could allow the National Guard to conduct law enforcement activities. He's allowed to do that. What he's not allowed to do is conduct a full federalization of this city, essentially revoke home rule and take control of Washington, D.C.'s executive and legislative and judiciary functions. That still is under the purview of the Washington, D.C. mayor, city council, and the courts. We'll see what happens. But now Donald Trump is not just saying that D.C. is the end all be all for this federalization. He says that New York City, Baltimore, and Oakland are so far gone, saying that, quote, this will go further.
It is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say.
And he's gone so far as now saying that Chicago could potentially be next, saying that, quote, if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster.
And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term. I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into LA. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully LA is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire. You were there. And I saw people standing in front of a burned down home. It was, their homes were incinerated.
What Donald Trump is doing is setting up a situation where you could have federal law enforcement officials, specifically the National Guard, in cities across the country. We saw it already in Los Angeles. We're about to see it in Washington, D.C. We could soon see it in Chicago, in Baltimore, in New York City, and elsewhere. Those will almost certainly be challenged if Donald Trump does go through with it and take that extraordinary step. Now, I'll tell you this, I am in Washington, D.C. I was on the ground in front of the White House this morning where a protest was growing, anti-Trump protest, a free D.C. protest in support of the city being autonomous, the city being self-governing. And well, majority of people do not support the actions that Donald Trump is taking. And his own Justice Department, or not his Justice Department, the Justice Department, right before he took office earlier this year on January 3rd, 2025, issued a memo saying that total violent crime for 2024 in the District of Columbia is down 35% from 2023. It's the lowest it has been in 30 years. Homicides are down 32%, robberies down 39%, armed carjackings down 53%, assaults with a dangerous weapon down 27%. And the District of Columbia is reporting the fewest assaults with dangerous weapons and burglaries in over 30 years. In over 30 years. That is what the Justice Department released in January. Now he is going full force and essentially saying the opposite. Why? Because he wants to distract the American public from the Epstein files and from his drama here within the White House. Now, the press conference didn't just cover DC. Donald Trump also made a major gaffe, saying that he is going to visit Vladimir Putin in Russia on Friday.
Emergency. And it's embarrassing for me to be up here. You know, I'm going to see Putin. I'm going to Russia on Friday. I don't like being up here talking about how unsafe and how dirty and disgusting this once beautiful capital was.
Here's the only issue. Donald Trump isn't meeting with Putin in Russia on Friday. He's meeting with Putin in Alaska. And Alaska has not been part of Russia since 1967. Is Donald Trump now seemingly suggesting he wants to give Alaska to Russia? I don't think that's the case. Instead, it was a gaffe. Now, take a minute and imagine if Joe Biden did that and the response from the mainstream media about Joe Biden's gaffes. Now, he also blasted President Zelensky, saying that while he gets along with Zelensky, he disagrees with what he's done, and he was bothered with what Zelensky has been saying.
I think we'll have constructive conversations. Then, after that meeting, immediately, maybe as I'm flying out, maybe as I'm leaving the room, I'll be calling the European leaders who I get along with very well. And, you know, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelensky, but, you know, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened, wouldn't have happened. But I'll be speaking to Zelensky. The next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need, but I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very.
It is clear that Donald Trump is setting up a situation where he's going to go to Alaska on Friday, cut some type of backroom deal with Putin, leave Zelensky out of it, and well, at the end of the day, you know who suffers? The world. That's the press conference. Subscribe to support my work by clicking the button below, and I'll see you soon. Hey, folks. Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.